A thread by Carlos Osuita. Greg Wah, XG Wake X, tweets, "You asserted some things earlier about drones and special forces and so on. You never answered my question as to whether you had evidence or were just speculating." Carlos responds, "At XG Wake X demonstrates the incredible intellectual laziness of today's social media users. Let me explain how this person thinks. Greg believes that unless I have access to classified information and photos of both drones and special operators in action, that means everything I'm saying is not valid. Now, it goes without saying that this is a bad faith approach to engaging someone. The very nature of what I'm talking about makes it impossible for me to have evidence, much less publish it. It also goes without saying that if I did have evidence, I would never talk about this subject. However, what I'm saying is a swag, SWAG, scientific wild-assed guess, an estimate made by someone with knowledge in the field based on other evidence, experience, and intuition. I do something that virtually no technical writer has done. I reverse engineer. I see the end result and I ask myself, how did this happen? If something unusual happens, there are only a limited number of ways in which it could have happened. Let's take an example. The secret drone base in Saudi Arabia. Is this the secret US drone base in Saudi Arabia? From Wired.com. There's no evidence that this is real from the article. The image of the airfield available in Bing Maps would be almost impossible to discover randomly. Now, when I read about this, I had an idea, but I had no evidence of it, so I put the idea in the open file. Then I got my corroborating evidence. This. Now, this video on YouTube is just a whole bunch of Saudi tanks on RT. Link in the description. The largest amphibious landing in the history of the Middle East, in both Little Aden and Crater, Yemen. The only two pockets of resistance not controlled by the Houthis. Little Aden, down here, southern Yemen. And then Crater. All right. Little Aden left, Crater right. Very close by. On July 14th, 2015, about 170 Oshkosh MATV, mine-resistant, ambush-protected, armored vehicles burst out of Little Aden. One force of 75 such MRAPs captured the roads leading into Little Aden, and another force of 95 MRAPs were ferried across to Crater. There's your mine-resistant, ambush-protected vehicle, MRAP. That's the only known photo of the action. On August 4th, 2015, hundreds of Emirati Leclerc main battle tanks, BMP-3 infantry fighting vehicles, MRAPs, and self-propelled artillery pieces blew out of Aden. Nobody knows how they were landed. We have spy satellites. Russia has spy satellites. Iran has spy satellites. That confirmed my theory. The Saudis can inject false imagery into satellites. The secret drone base is fake. That is how the amphibious landings went undetected. From thedailybeast.com, Israel's secret Iran attack plan, electronic warfare. The Israelis can spoof all military radar. From the article, quote, in a 2007 attack on a suspected nuclear site at Al-Kibar, the Syrian military got a taste of this warfare when Israeli planes spoofed the country's air defense radars. At first, making it appear that no jets were in the sky, and then, in an instant, making the radar believe the sky was filled with hundreds of planes. Of course, I have no idea how the Saudis can inject false images into the satellites, but obviously they can do it. How else do you explain Nobody seeing the largest amphibious landing in the Middle East. Here's another thing not one person noticed. The Saudi F-15 destroyed the Houthi surface-to-air missile in midair. Okay, so we're going to show you this video because it is silent. And check it out. First of all, this is called FLIR. So it's infrared, forward-looking infrared is what it stands for. I'm going to go to this part of the video. Okay, so now we're going to watch a Saudi F-15. Watch. So what's going to happen next is it's going to launch countermeasures, and then something's going to appear to hit the plane anyway. Watch what happens, okay? Okay, so apparently it's going to fire up its afterburner or whatever you call it. This is Patrick talking, not Carlos, by the way, in case anybody was wondering. Okay, countermeasures launched. Bam! Okay, so look at the F-15, completely undamaged. What this video reveals, Carlos will explain. This video footage is white-hot FLIR, forward-looking infrared. The F-15 at normal flight speed. All right, so you've seen the video. And we'll get into the details with Carlos. All right, an alarm goes off in the pilot's cockpit, telling him or her that a missile air defense system has locked onto the aircraft. The pilot puts on the afterburners to go much faster. Okay, so we saw that in the video. The missile chases heat, so the pilot fires off flare decoys, okay? This looks like the missile hits the F-15, but it's a trick of perspective. The missile is very far from the F-15 on the same horizontal plane. Okay, so check it out. You got this? Okay, so missile, plane, same horizontal plane, great distance apart. Bam, bam, bam. Okay, let's keep going. Check it out. The missile exploded and the F-15 is totally intact. The entire missile has been destroyed. Here's the Saudi F-15 after the missile hit. Compare the Saudi F-15 to before the missile hit. Second image. Look at the timeline on the bottom of the screen grabs. Look, bam, bam. Okay, so we're talking seconds apart. Identical imagery. No damage. This hit is the missile being destroyed by some form of Saudi anti-missile defense mounted on the F-15. It has to be electronic. Not one aviation expert interpreted the video correctly. How is that possible? Cognitive rigidity. Where's your evidence? In the video. Don't you have eyes? There was no wreckage. The F-15 was totally undamaged. I reverse engineered what happened. And this is how I figure things out. I'm the only person in the world who relies 100% on open source video. You can see amazing things. I always explain things in a way that anybody could understand. The people with the most open minds when it comes to military weaponry? Blue-collar women. They always go off and do their own research. I attribute it to an unquenchable desire to improve. Blue-collar work is about systems, understanding how systems work. Therefore, blue-collar women aren't satisfied with one piece. They have to know how the whole thing works. And they never say, prove it! Everything has an answer. Finding the answer is a process of elimination. Years ago, I totally gave up on all the fields in which I was interested. Cognitive rigidity prevented even the discussion of things. So I looked for my own stuff without ever asking an expert. And now I laugh because these twerps know nothing. Their orthodoxy makes them useless. I go into things thinking, I'll just bet that blank. Guess what? I'm always right. Someday I plan on publishing 24 photo books of the assault troops of World War I. Central powers, Germany, Austria-Hungary, Turkey, Bulgaria. Allied powers, Britain and the Dominions, France, Russia, the US, Italy, Belgium, Japan, Portugal, Serbia, Macedonia, Romania, China, Greece, Czechs. Neutral powers, Netherlands, Switzerland, Spain, Mexico, Norway, Sweden, Denmark. Out of all those countries, the armed forces of Denmark were the hardest to find information on. And what do you suppose happened? I discovered that absolutely everyone, including the Danish army, is wrong. For 2 years after the war, 1918 to 1920, the Danes experimented with turning their pioneer troops into assault pioneers based on the German model. They used German weapons: flamethrowers, hand grenades, grenade launchers, mortars, light machine guns. I found the proof in an ancient report buried in files nobody had looked at since 1920. And now I'm starting to find photos. My books will change everything in the field. The experts will say, ignore him. He's been clown listed. And you know what? It'll be glorious. The clown is smarter than all of them put together.